Jones is considered a more moderate Democrat. He's from the South. Would make an interesting ticket, a Northeast moderate liberal with a Southern moderate.
Jones had asked the vice president, the former vice president.
That's an interesting.
Well, they have a history. They go back a ways.
Getting back to your original question, though, about 2018, two interesting stories. I think the markets will blow off all this stuff about shutting down the government and everything. I mean, here's the thing: when the Obama administration was in there was more than a theoretical chance that the Obama administration, in a government shutdown, right, when you don't have a budget, when you can't pay, allegedly, they would actually stiff the bondholders to pay welfare and everything else. There was more than a theory. They actually threatened that. So the markets got a little freaky on that. This administration, they are not going to stiff. They're going to stop other payments, but they will pay bondholders first. So from a market standpoint, it's not going to be a big deal. And guess what? I think the markets will keep going up. There may be a correction, but, they like this tax plan. We'll see how the individual side affects people, because that was a little more messy. There are some people that are getting tax increases based on this plan. And
will the narrower margins change things?
I think they'll.
There's a pretty busy agenda there.
Yeah, and here's where it gets really interesting, Neil. In 2018, if the economy keeps improving and Donald Trump does not get a favorability bounce out of that, and you get 2018 midterms, Democrats clean up the House. Here's where it gets interesting. That's where you'll see impeachment hearings. You will see it. They will control. The Democrats will control.
I don't think that's going to happen. Here's what, I could be going against the grain.
Obstruction.
I don't think Republicans are going to lose that many seats. And I base it on.
Need to start running on their.
Here's what I'm basing it on, and I have no, a dog in this fight. But I think the impact of the tax cuts, particularly corporations that might continue to do what we've seen Southwestern American add to today, providing $1,000 bonuses on top of the relief, modest as it is, that individuals are getting, that's going to resonate more than we appreciate and maybe save Republicans bacon in the House. What do you think?
Listen, I think that there's no question the Democrats' favorability is down as much as the Republicans' favorability is down. So there's nothing certain. I mean, just because the president's favorability is low doesn't mean that the Republicans.
Not just low. It's
record low. I get it.
It's in the crapper low.
Oh, I get that, but that doesn't mean that the Democrats have a sure thing.
I agree.
Look, I look at all of this as a marketing
I get nervous
campaign.
with the consensus, right? I mean, when the consensus overwhelmingly says this is what's going to happen, then by definition,
Neil, midterms are always bad to the party in power.
Not always. George Bush in his first midterm. Yeah,
he did okay. They
gained seats.
But we're also
so you're right, though. Most of the time, that's the case. What do you envision?
We're assuming smooth sailing from here on out. We don't know geopolitically what could happen. I mean, we saw a nuclear button tweet yesterday. The market shrugged it off. But if there were a big geopolitical catastrophe, nobody's going to care about tax reform.
I agree with that. The world ends. No one cares about their tax. But, Neil, that's what the problem is.
I don't mean
I got a tax cut. Oh, no, I'm dead.
We're living in red dawn.
A couple $100.
She makes a good point. But my point is this. There's a lot of good things going on in the economy. It is not sort of redounded to the president's favorability that much.
But are Republicans capitalizing on that? Have you heard them articulate that?
Are Democrats capitalizing on unfavorability towards the president?
I don't know.
Absolutely not.
Oh, really? What happened in Alabama?
But that's come on.
Well,
you're running against
that was a special.
That was a totally different case.
I don't know. All right, guys, I don't want to interrupt you here, but I just did. We're going to wait to hear from Tina Smith. Of course, she's the Minnesota lieutenant governor who's going to fill out by appointment of the governor there in Minnesota. Al Franken's, I think, 2 years left on his term, right? So she will fill that term out. That's the next thing we're waiting for. In his role as president of the Senate, Vice President Pence will do the honors there. In the meantime, you probably heard already that Orrin Hatch is looking at retiring, the longest-serving Republican senator in American history. Mitt Romney is looking, presumably, at that position. But Rand Paul is saying, I don't know about Mitt. He might not be conservative enough. I want you to listen to this. So even if Mitt Romney were to run, you wouldn't be surprised if others decided to challenge him?
No, and in fact, my good friend Mike Lee went up and took on a sitting senator out there, and a lot of times their primary is actually a convention where only a couple of thousand people vote, and so a lot of times conservatives have a bigger impact in Utah than many places because the conservative activists are the ones a lot of times that show up for their conventions.
Do you think Mitt Romney is a conservative?
Well, I think that, there were people who said that, Obamacare was based on Romney Care in Massachusetts. I would say some aspects, particularly of Romney Care, are really aspects of big government health care that might not, fit real well with conservatives in Utah. We'll see.
He didn't have one good word to say about Mitt Romney. But you think about it. You go back in history, Richard Nixon was supposed to waltz into the California governor's mansion after losing the presidential vote to John Kennedy in 1960. 62 was right. Famously, he loses that race. He wanted Dick Nixon to kick around anymore. Everyone was surprised. Pat Brown shouldn't have won that. I'm just wondering if we're getting our, skis ahead here on this, when it might not be the case.
Yeah, I think that there's no question we're getting ahead of ourselves, because you have to look at this as a marketing campaign, too. And I don't know what Mitt Romney's value proposition is right now. Is he going to be the fighter against the president? Is he going to be the fighter for the people? Is he not going to be a fighter at all? Is he going to say that I'm going to be about traditional values? We don't know.
He's popular in Utah, right?
He is popular.
Is Trump popular in Utah?
He's popular in Utah, and also
he won by a huge margin in Utah.
But is he popular right now? I mean, I think this.
I think McMullen got a lot of votes.
I don't know I'm not on the ground in Utah, and listen, he's going to raise a lot of money. He's got Spencer Zwick, his old right-hand man for the presidential days, who raised a lot of money. He's going to raise a lot of money here. He's going to have the infrastructure, but so did Jeb Bush. Okay, but now here's the difference. What I don't know. Romney has taken stances against Trump. He's actually, when Trump started endorsing and campaigning for Roy Moore, he came out against him. So he's drawn big lines in the sand.
So they've come a long way from that Secretary of State.
My point is this: I don't know if the average Utah voter, conservative voter, likes or dislikes Trump right now. If they don't like Trump, if they're holding their nose, he's got a shot.
But it's a weird anomaly, right? I mean, the way they have this they've watered it down because of the experience they've had in the past with it. It can be tilted very, very conservative, so even party luminaries can be forced out. That's how Mike Lee came to power, right? I mean, but do you envision any problems?
I don't at this point. I've been talking to a source who's close to Romney, and he said Romney already has his staff picked out. He's ahead of the game. Of course, he'll raise tons of money. And we don't have any foreseeable challengers. The guy that Bannon wanted is not running, at least at this point. He's not in the game.
Bannon's record's pretty lousy.
Bannon's record is great. I mean, that would be the one thing that could challenge him, and Bannon's power.
That whole segment is, I think, that's another story for 2018. Where does Bannon come out?
He's lost a lot of power, so I don't foresee him running a credible challenger to Romney.
Do you see a situation, though, that, let's say Romney does get to the Senate from Utah, the president, he had a bit of a fractious relationship, the dalliance of the Secretary of State position notwithstanding, but he's got to be careful, too, because his niece, of course, is running the Republican National Committee. And I don't think they want to agitate each other, right?
Well, I don't know if they want to and can't help themselves or what the situation is, because I think that they just get under each other's skins. Because they're both
like me and Gasparino.
There you go. I mean,
but I gave you a shirt.
Yes,
they're both.
I can't tell you what it says, but anyway.
They both bring to the table this idea that we're businessmen that can be pragmatists and come in, but they approach things very, very differently. So I think they can't help but sort of ignite when they get around each other. It's
the intangible
personal.
Always is Trump. Right? Every time you see these great economic numbers and he gives a good speech where he looks presidential, he does something insane, and then the party starts worrying about it. And
even yesterday, taking credit for the record. Aviation, no accidents.
You have a lot to brag about. I don't know why you...
Yeah.
Aviation.
Why you muddy it?
How did that pop in his head? How did that pop in his head?
Well, we got the numbers out. It was the safest year for airline travel ever.
He keeps a list of achievements of all the things he did, because he says,
do you think he thinks
so, and I think he says, if I don't tell the story of all the good stuff that's happening, nobody else will, because so much negative coverage is happening about it.
He also says his hair is real.
I believe that.
I believe it.
Have you seen?
Didn't you watch Jimmy Fallon?
Could you be a bigger idiot? I mean, is that possible? All right.
I'm sorry, you agree secretly.
I do not. That's his hair.
Listen, he's got a beautiful grandson, Eric Trump's son, and his hair seems to be growing in the same way as the president's. Next time you see a picture, take a look.
He's like 9 feet tall. Look at that.
I know, it's amazing.
I like his kids. I will admit.
Well, that's terrific. That closes right there. All right.
All the news that's